of the things that I've learned over the years in Star Wars fandom and collecting is the most enriching thing is to learn from different people's experiences. And this panel is going to be a lot about what it means to be a fan and collector and hear from really different perspectives on that. And this is actually our largest panel in the collecting track. And I want to introduce our panelists, Lauren Kupka, Brooke Moorhead, Ann Newman, Vicky Bitter, Robin Bokra, Amy Schoberg, and Alyssa Loney. And please welcome them.
Hi, everyone. I'm Robin Bokra. I guess Gus just breezes right off the stage. So today, us 7 gals are going to be talking to everybody here about our fandom as female collectors, fans, aficionados, cosplayers, and all the like. And I hope that all of us can represent the community in some way, especially the female community, which when I was growing up didn't exist. I grew up with Star Wars my whole life, and I was lucky enough to be able to see Star Wars in a first-run theater in Edison. Actually, it was the Menlo Twin Park, Edison Twin Theater, which is long gone, in May of 1977 with my mother and father. And my mother was a huge science fiction fan. So science fiction was always a staple in the household for me. So it was predestined that I would become a fan, I guess so to say. So since it was promoted, and I was almost 5 when the movie came out, when the toys started to come out, my mother automatically was buying them and bringing them home, and I started playing with them. It's a very influential age when you're 5, 6, 7. For the toys you're given, it does start to formulate who you're going to be and what you start to get attracted to. So I was lucky enough to have somebody who was so promoting of it. And I've been a steady collector my whole life. I collected all the toys. I saved all of them from the childhood. And then when '83 came, that was it. Star Wars started to become dead in '84, '85. And something that meant so much to me that I played every day with my friends growing up. I mean, I didn't play with the girls on the street. I played with the guys because the guys had the cool toys. I mean, the girls were like, do you want to come over and comb the doll's hair? And I'm like, no, but we could cut it off. I enjoyed being, I guess, a tomboy is what we were known as, but I just enjoyed it so much that collecting the toys was fun. And then my 2 friends, Marty and Alan, Marty was Luke and Alan was always Han. It was always the 3 of us. We were the 3 Musketeers, and we played this every single day. We'd go to the bus stop, and we were on a mission. We were the first ones to see the Imperial troops. We'd be walking down like a hallway, and we'd all like hide, and we would all get ready, and there'd be a door at the end, and my mother would come out and go, you guys want lunch? But we still saw it, and so our imagination was what we had, and a lot of kids today, I feel sometimes don't have this. They don't have the camaraderie of playing together, actually playing and imagining and using what you have around you. And Star Wars gave that to me, and I'm very grateful, and it led in the long term to me becoming a huge science fiction fan that led to me majoring in sciences and then becoming a physician and marrying another physician. And we have Star Wars in common, and while he's very supportive and he likes it, thank God, because I would miss him terribly when he had to move out. It's become more than that for me. It's become something that really preoccupies my whole life and every day of my life, and I think about it and I see things. You see images in the sky and you're like, you see Jabba the Hutt and you're like, well, look, it's right there, and he's just turning his head and people are looking at you. I'm like, only another fan would get it. And that's one thing that we all share in this room, is that we all get it. We all have that together. So for me, as you can see from these slides, this has been a part of my life. So let me click ahead. So I believe I am the first Leia combat poncho, because that is from October 1983. My mother made me that costume, and I got a lot of wear out of it, I'll tell you that, running through the woods. So yeah, and I still have the poncho today. Now, the picture of me with that great bootleg Darth Vader was from, I believe, the summer of 1978 at a picnic. And I was terribly afraid of him, and I just kept walking past him until eventually, he didn't talk, thank God, because I can only imagine. But there was no voice modulators back then, but I eventually said, I like you, and I liked you in the movie, and then he picked me up, and I have that. That's actually a Polaroid picture. So I still have that. Most of them have faded, so I still have that picture. And then when the movies faded and there was no more toys, we had a dull spot of like 85, 86, 87 when the Power of the Force toys came out, and they were a major flop. Nobody cared about them. I was still buying. I bought steadily every year of my life. And when nobody cared anymore, I was going to Star Trek conventions because I was told that's where it's at. Nobody cared about Star Wars. It was dead. The franchise was over. There was nothing more to be said, so people moved on. So when I would go to Star Trek conventions, all my figures would be in bins, and you would see sand crawlers for like $20 complete, and you'd see carded figures laying on the table, and they were worthless to them because you really wanted the next generation items, which were very cool. And I do love Star Trek because I love all science fiction. I love the genre. But for me, when you're a collector, you always want a little bit more. So when Star Tours opened up in, what was it, 86, 87? It was a gift, and so when I went there, I wasn't really even aware that this existed, and that was my senior year of high school, and we're in that lovely yellow little number. I saw an Ewok there, and it was like so hot out, and there was this Ewok, and of course I ran up, and I was like, ah, and I grabbed him, and he was like, oof, and I was trying to pick him up. So that, you don't see that picture, that one's not included, but it just meant so much. But as time went on, everything disappeared. But so seeing this was the biggest gift in the world. That's actually one of the happiest days of my entire life, when I got to see a life-size AT-AT walker there, and I could go on a ride. And there was Star Wars once again, and that was one of the best moments of my life. Going to conventions is also one of the best parts of my life. Being able to be here with you. I walk around and I go, these are my people. I feel comfortable. This is where I belong. And I do enjoy talking. I do talk too much, so hopefully we'll have enough time. I've been a collector. I've now recently gotten into buying the original props as well. But I have a lot of stuff. I have rooms of stuff, and if it was up to me, I would live in it. It would be in every room. But I do not live with that person, so I collect what I like, I enjoy it, and I now try to collect from all over the world. Because Star Wars was not just here. It was in Canada, it was in Mexico, it was in France, it was in England, it was in Germany, it was in Japan, it was in Australia. It was in so many different countries. It was in South America. I mean, it permeated everywhere, and these toys became so important, especially for those children who ended up getting them later after the films were out. They didn't get them when the films were out then. It took years for it to finally get around, so the pieces don't always time with when the movies were released. So lately I've been getting involved with some of the props, and one of my favorite pieces actually in the center is Baby Nippet from Return of the Jedi. He was the guy that was in the basket that they were petting. It's actually a full puppet that you can put your whole hand in and move the mouth, and there's wires so it moved. And it's actually quite large. It's a lot larger than you would imagine. And then recently I was able to pick up a Bespin Guard jacket and Emperor's Royal Guard helmet. And there happens to be another one that's actually for sale on the prop store auction, so make sure you stop by. So this has been the biggest part of my life, and because of it, this is my social outlet, and I even run a page called Bespin Prime, which is for It's for everybody. It's for all of us that do cosplay or droid building or love the films or just, collect vintage, even modern. And I run it with my very good girlfriend right there, Vicky Bitter. She was signed up. She did not sign up for it. I just said, "You're running this page with me." And she was like, I am? I'm like, yep. So I'm very grateful. So I'm going to be turning over now, the little clicker, to Ann Newman. Yes.
Thanks, Robin. Hello, hi. I'm Ann Newman, and I became I became a fan of Star Wars in 1977. And I was 9, and my sister was 6 or 7. And we sat on the floor and we played action figures and we traded cards. And it was really bonding for us. And we kept that through our lives, even though sometimes we were not as close, but we could always come back to that and say, "Hey, remember when?" And I still have those cards. And today, I am now president and CEO of Rancho Obi-Wan, a nonprofit museum, the world's largest Star Wars collection. And sitting here in the front row with me are the people I've drug into my life, not kicking and screaming. My best friend, Victoria, and my mom, Susan, and my husband, Stu. And in the other room down the street, you should go to the Rancho Obi-Wan experience, where we have an exhibit on Boba Fett, to Bo-Katan, a history of Mandalorians. And in that room, everybody wearing one of these shirts are comrades and friends, family that also love Star Wars. We are more service-oriented. I don't collect anymore because I don't need to. I collect by proxy. So I prefer to be more service-oriented. I feel like Rancho Obi-Wan uses all the things that we collect to serve a higher purpose. So we all accumulate a lot of things, and some of us take them out of the packages and play with them. Some of us don't. Steve Sansweet. But they're there. So what are they there for? I think they're there to help all people, all ages, from everywhere, to push them on a path through life. Robin became a physician. I wanted to be an astronaut. We've got kids down there drawing who it may put them on a path for their lives. That's what the purpose of Rancho Obi-Wan and the purpose of Star Wars is. Oh, there's slides. Okay. So this is me and Steve on the left. This was at the world premiere of The Rise of Skywalker, and we got to walk on the blue carpet, and I dressed myself in all kinds of Star Wars gear, even though it doesn't say Star Wars hardly anymore. But that was a really big highlight for Steve and I, to actually be there together, walking on the carpet. But at home, the middle is me and one of my chickens. Rancho Obi-Wan is on a former chicken ranch. If you ever come visit us, the chickens are part of the tour. And on the right is, I don't know where that is. That's in the art gallery, but I don't know what it's for. That's me and Steve at Rancho Obi-Wan. Steve loves art, and I love art as well, and we collect it, put it in the art gallery. And let's see, what else? So some of the experiences that I've had with Steve at Rancho Obi-Wan, the first one is when we wrote the Ultimate Action Figure Guide, which came out in 2012. So what this entailed was we had to find all of the action figures and rip them out of their packages. I would actually throw them across the room because I could. It didn't have to be mint. It was awesome, except for it was really exhausting. So there's me on a very not so flattering photo, face down in action figures. The middle photograph is the world record shoot for the Guinness Book of World Records. We're in the 2014 world record book. Steve did a photo shoot with them where we just had to gather all kinds of Star Wars things and put them everywhere and cover every blank space, and that was a really fun day and a very proud moment, I think, for Steve and for everybody at Rancho Obi-Wan. And then there's my sister. That's not me. And what are we doing? We're opening trading cards and when we're adults. So that's, like I said, we brought it forward in time, which is really nice. But I do hope you come see Rancho Obi-Wan, talk to my family and my friends, and we are there to serve you and make you happy, and hope that you come away with it a joyful feeling and just overflowing emotions. But I also wanted to say, though, this is Amy. I'm going to hand it to her. In the Dark Ages, Robin mentioned the Dark Ages, there wasn't much, and there certainly wasn't anything for women. So I actually made one of my necklaces from a bead that came on a bookmark. That's what we had to do if we wanted jewelry. It was like, make it. And then today, Amy brings this amazing, beautiful, blingy piece of jewelry to me and said, this is a gift. So there's lots of Star Wars stuff for women now, which is really thrilling, and functional things and beautiful things. And that's why all these women are up here, because they want to, Star Wars is for us, right? Yeah. Amy?
Thanks, Anne. Anne and I were actually on the Women in Collecting panel track panel from 2007, which was 16 years ago. Yikes. So the picture on the far left is a photo of me and my brother, and you'll see that I'm not the one holding the Ewok, it's my brother. That's because my parents thought, well, maybe you'd like strawberry shortcake a little bit better. And I did, but when he'd go to school, I would play with his action figures. And I didn't get into Star Wars action figures until 94, 95 when they started selling them. And even though I was a teenager at the time, I went deep in. Like, I was buying Star Wars Galaxy Collector magazines and reading stories about people like Gus Lopez, who turns out lived in the same city that I lived in. And anyway, I went to Celebration. Celebration 3 was my first celebration, and I gave it to myself as a graduation gift for college. And ever since then, I was in deep, like really deep. I joined a local collecting club called Sarlacc, and from there, I was asked to be on a panel at the next celebration. And then I thought, I'm having so much fun with these people that run the collecting track. I want to work there, and I want to do that. So every celebration since, at least in the US, I've been volunteering with the collecting panels. And I've met my extended family through collecting, and it's been awesome. So this is some of the amazing things that have happened that I would have never dreamed could have happened. I've gone to baseball games with Ewoks that I built with my friends, and we've gone to filming locations. We've gone on road trips to visit other collectors in other cities. In fact, there's a whole van of us that drove down from Seattle last week, and we're going to be driving all the way back, and we'll visit Anne on the way back. And got to visit Skywalker Ranch, which was top 3 bucket list item in my life. Some more photos. Last page, I promise. So the Ewok thing kind of exploded, and we made a lot of Ewoks. One of them's on the show floor in the Seattle collecting booth. And if you're from the area or you're interested, come on down and check us out. It's a fun booth. My collection's evolved over the years, but that's largely in part to meeting local collectors and getting to see how they collect things and how they display things. And I've really focused on Return of the Jedi because it's the first movie I remember seeing. And I love Ewoks ever since, mainly probably because of my brother's stuffed animal that I never got to have. And now my joy is sharing Star Wars with my nieces. And this is a photo of my niece. I asked her what she wanted for Christmas, and she said, I'd like to go to a comic book convention with you. And I was like, okay, I can do that. So we went and got our photo with Chewbacca. Star Wars really is for everyone. I know at the end of the panel 16 years ago, my takeaway was that Star Wars is forever, but now it's forever and for everyone.
Thanks.
Hi, everybody. My name's Vicki Bitter. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I was raised with 3 older brothers. I still live in the greater Cincinnati area. Much like Amy, I didn't have a whole lot of exposure to a bunch of toys when I was a kid. My brother was more of a collector than a player, so he had a bunch of the first 12 and some of those figures in the late 70s when I was 4 when the first movie came out. I never got to see that movie in the theater, and back then there was no streaming and no video and no VCR, so the only exposure I had to Star Wars was his figures that sat on the shelf, too high for me to reach. I climbed that shelving unit, and I broke it. And he wasn't happy, and I beat up his toys. So when Empire Strikes Back came out, I finally got invited to the movie. I got to see that in the theater, and my first impression and what sealed the deal for me was the opening scene of Empire Strikes Back. The sound and the thunder of the AT-ATs and that Hoth battle scene really sealed me as a Star Wars fan forever. I was overwhelmed. Was for the one part one of the first action movies I had ever seen. Prior to that, it was things that they typically took girls to. I got to see Bambi. So I was the tomboy, for lack of a better word. I don't hear that word used much anymore, but that's how I got identified. And when the Empire Strikes Back toys came around for Christmas that year, I was finally gifted with some of my own, probably because my father was tired of fixing the shelves and my brother was tired of having his toys destroyed. I had only a few toys. We weren't a wealthy family, so I never got to have a grand assortment of things back then. I was always the kid in the neighborhood because all of my friends in the neighborhood were boys as well, just like Robin. So I was always the one who had Han in the Millennium Falcon that belonged to someone else while I was running down the street behind the toy that my figure was riding in. You can put him in there, but you can't drive it. It's my Millennium Falcon. After that, I fell in love. I, unfortunately, don't have any pictures of me with Star Wars toys. I have torn apart the photo albums, and they don't exist. But you have a little bit of exposure here to me with my cousin Brian, who's actually out here in the audience watching today, and my cousin Phil in the background. That's me with my cousin Paul in the middle, doing some big wheel action down the street in front of his house. And then that's actually my brother in the third picture, whose shelving unit I broke. And I wanted to be big like him and mow the lawn. This is me now. I am a nerd to the nth degree, and I love being in the midst. I think that's a wonderful word now. I love that it's become a word that we can embrace and that I don't have to feel ashamed to say out loud. I am a Star Wars nerd, and I'm glad to be among friends. It's worth mentioning that the X-Wing fighter in there is actually made out of office supplies, and I'm very proud of it. There's a marker and some duct tape and some cardboard there. That's one of my favorite collectibles. I started off saying, I'm just going to collect the toys I had when I was a kid. So I did. And then I was like, well, you know, I should probably collect the ones that Santa Claus never brought as well. So I'm going to collect those. And then I'm, oh, wow, I've never seen that. What's that? I never heard of the micro collection. I'd never seen those before. Is there Ewoks and a tree house? Okay, I'm going to collect those too. So what you see here in this picture, on the two sides is my original I'm going to collect. That's my Jabba's palace and the Rancor pit under it. On the other side is the Hoth toys with a little bit of X-Wing thrown in at the top for flavor. And then in the center are my two collecting areas. Oh, I have obviously expanded beyond the toy room and into the guest room. We've considered Airbnb-ing it for Star Wars fans because it's now no longer a guest room, it's more of a Star Wars room with a bed in it. what I found while I was going through stuff, and that I did not know existed, was a lot of the preschool things. And unlike some of the Return of the Jedi toys, their bright colors, their wonderful cartoonish artwork, I fell in love. And in falling in love with the preschool stuff, I was also a Strawberry Shortcake fan and a Care Bears fan. I had so few Star Wars toys that often the Star Wars toys were battling the Shortcakians and the Care Bears. Those are some epic battles, and I can take you back to them. I've, in the process of finding Ewok stuff, all of a sudden started to discover that there were what I call copycats. So there's the Wicket music box, and there's the exact same Strawberry Shortcake music box. There are sit and spins of all three varieties. There are phones of all three varieties. The clock was reproduced for Strawberry Shortcake, and I love Kenner's creativity here. They were looking to minimize cost. So this is great. We've got the same bell, the same mechanics, the same battery-powered pack, and I know because I took one apart. Everything is identical inside, but you've dropped a different shell over the top of it. Cost saving for them, entertaining for me, and now we have 3 different areas. This went beyond Kenner, into Craftmaster, into the production of the tins. There are similar belts, and I continue to find more. This is probably the piece of my collection that will continue to grow as time goes on, as I just keep finding new little bits and pieces as I search the internet. If you're not familiar with the preschool line, please look into it. I think they are fun and fabulous toys. And then the Ewok Focus began. So I didn't even know what a Focus collection was. Part of the beauty of learning about the Star Wars clubs and becoming a piece of that was learning from other collectors. And I actually walked into the collection of one of the Ohio Star Wars Collectors Club members, Mark Schnack. He is absolutely into Mon Calamari. His entire collection is every place that that little guy has appeared, and he loves his squid. I was blown away. From the tiniest stamp to the mock mint on card, it was a chance to see every way that that character had been explored. And I'm like, I want to do that with my murder bears. So this is the end result, and I'm sure it will continue to grow. Those are my 2 Ewok cabinets on either end, and then in the center is some odds and ends. I love the smalls. I love to be able to play with just the tiny little stamp sets, the little comb and keeper. All that stuff is so brightly colored. And then I also found the Ice Capades. I never got to see the Ice Capades, but I love the Ewoks on Ice Capades accoutrements, I guess, for lack of a better word. I've got the patch, I've got the coupon, I've got the program now. It's such a fabulous display. And I will probably continue to get more and more of the cells as well, because I just can't put them down. Every time I see another one, I'm like, ooh, it's so cute. And the best thing that I've come out of the hobby with, to Amy's point, is friends. Friends, charity, and giving back. These are a few of the wonderful people, Robin included, that have come across my path. I'm not very long in the collecting community. I didn't wise up in the 80s and 90s like some people. I didn't have the supplemental income. So my collection started around 2009. It didn't really ramp up until about 2017. And I would say I totally fell off the side after Chicago's celebration in 2019. So we're off the rails now, and we just go with it. I also, if I had to look at a way that I try to bring Star Wars to other people and to the community, swag. I discovered swag in 2019. What an amazing way to come up with something creative, build it myself, hand it to people, and watch the joy on their face. I love to give the little kids downstairs stickers or a patch. I hope that, and what I tell them when I give it to them is, please love Star Wars forever. Promise me that you will take this and carry it into the future, because we are so blessed, and I'm going to tear up. We are so blessed to have something 40 years after it happened. The level of content we have now, whether you love it all or you don't love it all, it's there. And how blessed are we to be able to say, yes, 40 years later, I am still Star Warsing. There's nobody else that can say that about a movie franchise to this level, to this passion, to this many people willing to gather together for a week and say, yes, we are Star Wars. So thank you for that. And know that there are ways for you to give back. You know, be that person that shares that passion with the next generation. And what I have done to try and share at least a love of toys, because I feel like kids are falling away from toys a little bit, is I became a board member for a charity in my area in Cincinnati called Stein for Toy Foundation, where we serve children in our area every Christmas. People that can't afford to make Christmas, we make that happen. And we don't just provide one toy. We bring a host of toys for each child. We make sure that the parents get to wrap and put things under the tree every year. And we serve roughly 3,500 to 4,000 kids each Christmas. So that's my attempt to give back. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak and for wanting to come and hear us talk. And I'm now going to hand off to the next generation, which is more than appropriate.
Hi, my name is Brooke Moorhead. I haven't been a collector since the 70s, unfortunately, very sad. But I have been into Star Wars for most of my life. You've got a young me at some Star Wars party with the whole group, lightsaber fighting, me going to Disneyland and loving all the Star Wars content. I have been a fan for years. I grew up with the sequels. I grew up with the original trilogy. I got into collecting a few years ago. So there's my collection, which takes up a pretty substantial bookcase. And I haven't collected much recently. I've sort of hit the place where I was like, okay, I've got a lot of stuff. I don't need stuff anymore. But going to Celebration was a fun thing that I was able to do. I've done it before. I went to the 2015 one. And walking back in here, it was incredible. Like, I was 6 back at the 2015 one. I was just this little kid in a Sabine costume that had been miraculously put together for me. And this time, it's just such an incredible feeling of coming into a room and saying, wow, all these people are Star Wars fans, all these people are my people. And a lot of the people in my life are Star Wars fans, some of my family, most of my friends. So it's pretty cool that I've been able to be in this community for a while. I was dragged along to Star Wars meetings as a younger kid, and then I was asking to go to Star Wars meetings because it's been awesome. And yeah,
What's your favorite Star Wars memory?
Oh, my favorite Star Wars memory. I don't know. I've enjoyed watching the movies so I do love the movies, but I'm really a fan of the shows because when I was a kid, I would come home from school on Fridays and I would sit down and watch an episode of the Clone Wars or Rebels if it had come out, and it was very enjoyable. I don't love all of the Clone Wars or Rebels. They're beautiful, but flawed. And I was recently able to rewatch them again with my younger sister, who doesn't love them either, but was willing to put up with me wanting to rewatch them. So, as the younger generation here, I would say that, yes, there's still tons of people that are joining the fandom and loving Star Wars because Star Wars has been brought back. It's here for another generation, and I think that that's incredible that Star Wars could have just been, you know, for the old people who were like, oh, back in my day, Star Wars was a huge thing. And now we've got more Star Wars. We've got Star Wars all the time. We've got new Star Wars that I watched last night when it came out. And I think it's incredible that it's been able to be going for this long. And I'm very excited for many, many years of being a Star Wars fan to come. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Lauren.
Hello. Uh-oh. Here we go. Hi, my name is Lauren. I started to collect around when The Force Awakens came out. I'll talk about these slides first, then I'll get back to that. I will get carried away with that. So on these slides here, I started to do cosplay with my dad. I started in Comic-Con about, I don't know the year. It was a long time ago. It was very little. So we started doing daddy-daughter characters put together. So we have the Princess Vader and the Daddy Vader. And then we started to go on to other characters, which will be later on in the slides as well. I also met Brian Herring at the last Comic-Con I went to, which he is one of the guys that was able to roll around the BB-8, which was amazing to meet him. He told me one story that really stuck with me. He said that one day when they were filming The Force Awakens, he was in the Millennium Falcon scene, and BB had to go across the scene really quick. And so he shoved him by, and he almost hit a camera, and one of those really expensive cameras. So I thought that was a really funny story. He was still cringing. It happened many years ago. So this is my collection. It was hard to pick and choose what I wanted to be in there. But I separated them out into kind of like miscellaneous things. I have some more like clothing and room decor in the middle. And then on the right, I have boxes or, like food boxes and stuff like that. So I love collecting. I do focus collect as well. I think it's really cool to see all the different ways that BB-8 can be represented and what he could be on. I have a BB-8 yo-yo. Who would think of that? I don't know, it's just so random, and it's so crazy to think that there's stuff out there like that. So this is more into the cosplay that I do with my dad. I love doing it. I walked in here yesterday and saw all of the amazing costumes, and today. They're so amazing, and I just love seeing that represented out there. We do get all of our clothes secondhand. We don't buy anything from the store. We go thrifting, and we get everything together and build them ourselves, so we make sure that they're used and we're not just keep buying costumes out there. So I like to do that. And if you follow your passion, I started to model for Goodwill for Halloween, and that went into back to school ads, and then it went into Star Wars and Halloween together. So yeah, there's a couple international ads that were in there. And it's just an amazing experience. And like the other ladies have said, once you get into it, there are so many more opportunities that you can go to. You meet new people. You have to connect to collect. You got to get connections out there. My dad is in Sarlacc, and the Seattle-based group, and the people in that group are just amazing. You meet so many good people. They're so supportive. I have things that they've brought in from all over the world. So it's amazing. So the people you meet are so cool, and I am really glad that it is also going to more generations, and I see little ones out there today, so hopefully they will stick along as well. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Alyssa Loney, and I have a little bit of a different story than those on the panel in that I do not collect Star Wars. I collect something called Seawees, which is a Kenner line of mermaids produced between 1979 and 1983. But I have a little brother, Andy Loney, who does collect Star Wars. And he's also a dealer, and he's down on the show floor, 2752, let's just say. But my experience with Star Wars happened again in May 1977, seeing the movies, and then the toys came out. And my dad bought them. And he bought them, and he bought them. And my brother loved them. And all of a sudden, my brother started liking the boxes of the toys. So my dad would buy 2 of them, one for my brother to open and play with, and one for him to put on a shelf and display and look at. And my brother went away to college and walked into his first toy show and realized that his toys were worth money and said, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be a toy dealer. And they said, why didn't you tell us this 5 years ago before we paid for your college? And he took off for Japan and spent most of the 90s in Tokyo dealing in Star Wars toys. So what I did, he approached me one time and said, we're going to Celebration and I need help. And that was Celebration 2. And that was my first celebration. And I've been to every American celebration, London celebration, and Japan celebration. So what I've collected over these years is personally, I live by myself and I work by myself. And Star Wars people are my friends and my extended family. I have made my best friends through Star Wars, through working at celebrations. And we have traveled the entire world. And you can see some of the pictures, and it is going forward on me. Let me go back. This is a panel that I did with Amy, and we did a crafting panel one time. The center picture is just last month when I traveled to Seattle to visit friends. And the third picture, I don't know if any of you have ever been on a floor looking through Japanese keshi, but that is me on a floor at a convention, having dumped a box full of keshi out looking for Star Wars items. Next one, these are some gatherings of some vintage collectors. I think this one might be in New York, where we all got together and hung out. Alone on a glacier. Trans-Siberian train went from Moscow to Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, with Star Wars collectors. The third picture is on the run from the Mongolian authorities in the Gobi Desert on an overnight bus trying to make it into China. The bus was completely overnight. You slept in it. There was bunk beds. And on that bus, the bus driver yelled the entire time at other traffic and played pornography on the TVs. It was the most insane experience ever. The cleanest place we went to the bathroom was in an open field in rural China. Where else would you do this but with Star Wars friends? I mean, some of the other pictures are dinners in London, traveling to some place called Vulcan in the middle of Canada. Other one is a nice trip to Duncan and Ann Jenkins' house, the Smithsonian. We have just some pictures of our friends, some of our international friends from Mexico, from France, telling stories. Oh God, some of the stories that you hear and that you tell each other are just going to be the best. They're going to be with you for life. The people that are sitting beside you could be your next best friend, and you could travel the entire world with them and get into the craziest shenanigans, and all based on Star Wars. Here are some other pictures, some auctions that we've gone to, some long nights in Rathskellers. How many of you have stayed up all night in the hotel already at celebrations? I mean, there are parties going on, there are patches being traded, there's swag given out, and all of this is here. Oh, that's a picture of the end. But anyways, also with Star Wars, and for me personally, some of my experiences is that when Star Wars came out, Harrison Ford was a little attracted to him. Very attracted to him. And then came out Indiana Jones. And I ended up going to college, didn't even know what to do, got a bachelor's degree in textiles and clothing. Came out of college, still not knowing what to do. I was like, God, Harrison Ford is still really fine. I'm going to be an archaeologist. I'm going to be Indiana Jones. And off I went to England to grad school and got a master's degree in medieval archaeology and became an archaeologist. That was because of, and it was all because of a crush I had on Harrison Ford. And then I found out, of course, archaeology is not Indiana Jones. Not at all, not even close. I'm not an archaeologist at the moment. I have another career. But again, Star Wars is what led me in that direction, and it is what has solidified my adult life. It started in my childhood with my father and my brother, and continued on, and now into my adult life, where we get together every few years. And COVID was hard on all of us, but I know that for me, Zoom was invented. So we had Zoom meetings and got together, collectors. We had viewing parties and watched the TV shows together. The Mandalorian, a lot of it was a COVID experience for us. And we would have watch parties together. And it just became a staple of our lives. But now we're here at Celebration, and we're all together again. So thank you for coming, and thank you for being my friend and enriching my life. You have done so much for me and brought this. As for somebody who does not collect Star Wars, you all have really enriched my life, and I never would have had this experience if it wasn't for you all. So thank you very much. Oh, we can pass it down for the last picture.
So all of us up here represent all of you out there, especially for the young girls that I'm speaking to. You're the new generation. You're the one that we're going to be passing the torch to. You're the ones who are going to be perhaps in this room writing the new series, maybe even starring in them or producing or directing them. It comes from your imagination and your drive. If this is what you want, that is what you will make happen. So it's very important that we foster this in our children, our nieces, our nephews, our friends, anyone you can, because it really is a very good community to be a part of. And what we all share is something that is a little corny, but the feeling that you have when you think about Star Wars, you're thinking about that new program coming out, when you're thinking about Ewan McGregor. That feeling that we all have in this room and the love that we share, that actually is what is called the Force. So the Force is real, and we all feel it. You feel it, you get it that right in here. So when somebody says, "May the Force be with you," it's not corny. I mean, that's goodwill and that's love. And that's what the community is based on. So I want to thank everybody for being here and listening to us. And again, may the Force be with you always. Thank you.